Water and water alone will supply what the body needs. Many are sick purely because of dehydration. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a not negotiable thing.
In this video, we have summarized 5 rules to correctly drinking water from one and only Barbara. We will first look at why we need to drink water scientifically, followed by 5 important rules to correctly hydrating your body. The last part will focus on how much we need to drink a day. So stay tuned until the very end to be inspired for a healthy, long life.
Why should we be drinking water? Every day we lose a lot of water. We lose moisture while we sleep from our skin. So we lose 1.5 litres from our kidneys. We lose 0.5 litres from our skin. We lose 0.3 litres from our colon, and we lose 0.2 from our lungs. So that's 2.5 litre loss a day, or 2.5 quart loss a day. That must be replaced. We don't have a reserve tank on the back. The only water that goes into the body is the water that we drink. Your fruits and vegetables also supply some fluid, but we need to have at least 2 litres of pure water a day.
Let's look into the detail of how water may help cure some medical conditions in the body. Barbara often quotes from the books written by Dr. Batmanglij, who is an Iranian medical doctor and researcher on water metabolism in the human body. He believed dehydration is the main cause of disease based on his experience of treating the pain of peptic ulcers during his detention in Evin prison by treating inmates with water when medication was not available. He wrote numerous books to share his knowledge.
There's a book called One of the Body's Many Cries for Water, and it's by an Iranian doctor, Dr. Batmanglij. He's got another title to his book. He's not sick, he's thirsty. Another title to his book is Don't Treat Thirst with Medications. When we're dehydrated, our body goes into a form of drought management, and it releases a hormone called histamine. And histamine is moving around the body in an attempt to maintain full blood volume in the major arteries and veins to try and keep our body alive. So what it does, it takes a little bit of water away from our joints. So we can get painful joints in dehydration. It takes a little bit of water away from the lining of our stomach that has a thick mucosal wall on it. You see, that thick mucosal wall is 99% water, so we can develop stomach ulcers in a dehydrated state. It takes water from the brain. From the neck down, we're 75% water. From the neck up, we're 85% water. When water is taken away from the brain cells shrink, and that hurts. There's your headache. Even negative thought patterns can develop when our brain is dehydrated. So, absolutely not negotiable, we need to drink 8 glasses of water a day.
So the first rule is to drink at least 8 glasses of water a day. That means we will need to sip water throughout the day. And start early.
Have the water in the car, have the water by your bed, have the water in the kitchen, have the water in your workplace. Sip, sip, sip. Start hydrating your body and see the difference. Start early, and you need to send the water into your body in gentle showers, little by little by little, all through the day. Start early. The earlier you start, the more water you can take.
Next 2 rules relate to stomach lining. Let's look at the science first.
The first place that water is lost is the stomach. Because lining our stomach, we have a thick mucosa lining, and in that thick mucosa lining is sodium bicarbonate. And that sodium bicarbonate is in the stomach lining, so that if any stomach acid tries to go through, it's immediately negated or neutralized, so that the hydrochloric acid doesn't eat out our stomach. But one of the first places that water is taken from in dehydration is the lining of the stomach. And so when someone is dehydrated, they can have a very thin stomach lining. And when there's a very thin stomach lining, there's no sodium bicarbonate in there. And so the stomach acid can easily start to eat its way through. And then because there's damage, our body's own microorganisms change roles and become the clean-up team. They change roles and become the clean-up team. Remember what its name is? Bacteria. It's called Helicobacter. Helicobacter pylori is blamed for stomach ulcers. What's the cause of stomach ulcers? Well, the number one, it's actually dehydration. And Dr. B claimed that at the writing of his book to have cured 3,000 cases of stomach ulcer with water alone.
Here is the second rule. Drink a glass of water half an hour before the meal.
So a glass of water half an hour before the meal, the first thing it'll do is it'll thicken that mucosa lining on the stomach.
Now on to the third rule. Do not drink water during the meal. Here is an anecdote of a client of Barbara who had ulcer but was drinking 2 liters of water every day.
He said, I was drinking a litre of water with every meal. So every meal, he's watering down his hydrochloric acid. Did you know that hydrochloric acid is antibacterial, antifungal? So if your hydrochloric acid's strong, Helicobacter pylori can't survive in the stomach because hydrochloric acid is antibacterial. He's drinking nothing between meals, so every meal when he sat to 8, he's dehydrated. No stomach lining, so here's Helicobacter pylori just doing its job. And by the way, every month when the antibiotic comes in, it kills the Helicobacter pylori off, but because the damage is still there, more Helicobacter pylori comes along to clean it up. When he sits to eat, hydrochloric acid's released, and hydrochloric acid is just about to come down and wipe out Helicobacter pylori. And then what does the man do? Has a great big drink of water. What does that do to hydrochloric acid? Water dilutes acid. He learnt in the lectures the importance of drinking between meals and not with meals. So he's drinking between meals, so what does that do to his stomach lining? Puts a nice thick lining on the stomach. When he smells, starts to eat food, hydrochloric acid's released, hydrochloric acid comes down, wipe out. His body healed itself. Now if someone's thirsty after a meal, by all means have a few mouthfuls of water. A few mouths of water is not going to greatly reduce the effectiveness of the hydrochloric acid.
Next is that we should try to drink less of caffeine drinks that dehydrates us. First we will understand where else in our body require water, followed by 3 specific drinks we should try to avoid for hydration.
So we come down the gastrointestinal tract and we come to the pancreas. Here's the pancreas. And the pancreas releases 2 hormones into the blood, and it also releases enzymes into the gut, hormones into the blood. What are the hormones going into the blood from the pancreas? It's insulin and glucagon. Both of these hormones require a large amount of water to be made properly. So if someone's dehydrated, can you see that can contribute to diabetes? So moving on down the gastrointestinal tract, we come to the colon. And one of the main functions of the colon is to take water out so stools are formed. If a person is dehydrated, more water gets taken out than should be taken out, so we're left with rabbit pellets and cement. So constipation can be a result of dehydration.
So what drinks dehydrate us?
Well, what about tea and coffee, Coke? Well, unfortunately, caffeine and sugar are dehydrating agents. If you're dehydrated and drink tea or coffee or Coke or Dr. Pepper or any soda drinks, because of the dehydrating agents in them, you will become more dehydrated. It will not hydrate your body.
The last rule to drinking water is to take some Celtic salt before drinking water. Why should you do that? The minerals in Celtic salt help to absorb water better in cells.
And the best way to access that water is to have a little bit of the Celtic salt with its 82 minerals just before each glass. The cell is surrounded by what's called a bilayered membrane. This is a double-layered membrane. And the water needs help to get into the cell. So how do we help the water get into the cell? So the highest concentration of mineral inside the cell is potassium. The highest concentration outside the cell is sodium. And there are sodium-potassium pumps that are in the membrane around the cell. And these sodium-potassium pumps are constantly going like this, maintaining the balance in and out of the cell. But the salt that we use is Celtic. And the Celtic salt, and it's called the Celtic salt because it's hand-harvested by the traditional Celtic method. And one of the values of the Celtic salt is that it contains 3 magnesiums. And that's why it's so moist, because magnesium is a water-hungry molecule.
Magnesium also acts as an electrolyte. It works with other electrically charged minerals like sodium and potassium to support proper hydration. That's why you'll often find it included in electrolyte drink mixes like Hydrant. Finally, how much water should you drink for your body weight?
Here's the rule of thumb. 100 pounds, 8 glasses of water. 50 pound, 4 glasses of water. That's the rule of thumb.